It's September 24th, 2025, and I am here, which means no Rapture on the 23rd, maybe the 24th, because we still have a couple hours there window. But of course, we almost didn't have a show today because I overslept. So that the joke was in. I almost overslept. So not because of no Rapture, we might not have a show. But we have a show. I showed up for work, and Jimmy Kimmel as well, along with some other great news stories after 8 total. Jimmy Kimmel back on the scene. Also, Ryan Routh having a bit of a day yesterday, and Bruce Pearl, and some other stories. 8 stories total, 5 more on top of those stories. This is things you might not have heard from the Conversation Project, your home for traditional headline news, information, and pop culture references that are worth chatting about. And we're going to give you those in just a moment. I'm Jake Clifton Payne, and want to remind you that our website home to find out more about what we do, how we get it done, is at conversationproject.com. So stop by there, see our origin story, see some info about how to keep things going here, see some replays of old shows, and of course, visit us for our partnership page and other sponsors. Now, we're spotlighting one sponsor, that being Ground News. This is a conversationproject.com/ground news. Link straight to them. Click on the link for that one. You get great access to Ground News, their access. You get great access with a great deal, 40% off their plans, and you give us a little bit of love because we get a small cutback, a small bit back from that actual transaction. We get a spiff, if you will, if you know the world of sales going forward. So with all that said, let's get into the news for today, being the 24th of September. We're rolling this out at 5:30 a.m. in the morning, Central Time, to get this to you. So whether you're watching this live or on the replay, let me know where you're watching it, how you're getting to it, and what we can do better going forward. Now, let's actually go forward. With our first story being Jimmy Kimmel, because it seems like the story that was sort of lacking, not very much meat to it, but it's the one that's overtaking everything because there are larger stakes in talking about this one. He returned to his ABC show after his suspension, about 6 days off, seeking to ease some tensions and, of course, taking some aims at President Donald Trump. He reopened with an emotional monologue, apologized for the tone of his earlier remarks, affirmed that the satire's place in actual discourse does need to be there, including some shots at Trump and FCC Chair Brandon Carr with some help from Robert De Niro. He thanked conservatives who defended his right to speak while calling out coordinated pressure on ABC. One of the odder things about this one is the fact that folks like Ben Shapiro, who you would not think would be all that a keen fan of Jimmy Kimmel, has said words against him in the past, was not so big on pulling him off the air. What's really good about this actual debate on free speech is a showing from conservatives who have been for years complaining about being canceled, being held back, not having their words said well on the air, so going to other alternative ways. Now they're stepping up for this one here, and they sort of stepped by for Colbert as well. But for Kimmel to be pulled up there directly for what he said or what was basically misunderstood when he said was an issue. Now, Nexstar and Sinclair still preempted the show, so they still showed extra news on the ABC affiliates they own. So with that blackout, a good chunk of the nation, 30 to 40% or so, didn't get a chance to see him live on the ABC station. But thanks to Hulu or whatever owns them right now, plus Hulu, we'll get them in a second, and clips are going on. Everybody gets a chance to see Jimmy in some way. This was basically framed as a media freedom that stresses the fact that culture wars are there and they're not going away. However, you do have to fight for the rights to say what you want to say and keep it sort of civil. Kimmel did his best to do that last night. We'll see what goes on going forward. As we know, his contract ends sometime in the middle of next year. What happens from here to there and from there beyond, it's a big question. We often talk about Trump and the escalator down from Trump Plaza, where he stepped down and announced his presidency, and we got this whole thing here. Today, a bad escalator issue, or yesterday, a bad escalator issue at the UN caused a bit of a hullabaloo for the White House as they had to explain the malfunction. At the UN, Trump rifled through and stomped on a bad escalator, or riffed about a bad escalator in his speech. Basically, he showed up at the UN and they gave him an escalator. It didn't work. He said a little joke about the first lady being fit so she didn't fall over, and him being fit so they made the way. You see in the picture there, essentially got an escalator and it literally stopped. Now, part of the problem was there had been many officials in the UN who joked for days about shutting down escalators and elevators, making Trump walk. And what happened? An escalator shut down and Trump had to walk. So the White House is opening a probe into this one. We should be talking about the fiery speech that President Trump gave to the UN Assembly about essentially how other nations are destroying themselves and they should be more like us. We should talk about how his flip flop, if you will, on flashing out at Russia for being a paper tiger and lashing in to Ukraine with both a speech there at the United Nations and a Truth Social tweet, Truth, about how Ukraine should go ahead and just start taking back all its land, which is going to be pretty much impossible. But we're talking about the escalator issue and the glitch that was there because that's what was sort of the focus in most of the coverage. While real politicians and real pundits went deeper into what this means, a big part of what the zeitgeist is, what picked things up, and what is sort of bringing it all together is the moment. So we're talking the moment. We can't help ourselves. We're there. We'll talk more Donald Trump and policy as policy comes together. We'll probably get a hot take on what the policy actually went through for today as well. But what we have at the moment, what we see right now, is a little bit of sort of the mystique coming down on Trump and things around him. Not a lot of coverage. At least there's more coverage now because it's over. But it's the part of how it got over is where things really got wacky. The Trump Golf Club gunman was found guilty in an assassination attempt, so he got that taken care of. Plus, tried to stab himself in the neck after the verdict. The federal jury actually convicted Ryan Routh on all counts tied to the 2024 attempt at then candidate Donald Trump's life at the West Palm Beach Golf Club while he was taking a golf outing. Wasn't even doing the speaking. He was just there golfing, and he tried to take a shot at him, or attempted to, was preparing to, through some bushes at the golf club. After the verdict, Routh appeared to stab himself with a pen before marshals intervened. Yes, we're going down in blaze of glory for this one. Local affiliates recap prosecution evidence where surveillance of the course and multiple reconnaissance trips basically said he was there, he was checking out, he was going to do it, he tried to do it, something happened, and we got lucky for it. However, the details for sentencing are pending. Appeals are expected because you just do that. I'm not sure who will represent him in the appeal because he represented himself rather poorly, if you will, for going forward. This case will echo in security for planning around Trump's movements going forward and security inside of courtrooms as something like this. If he had a lawyer to represent him or someone around him to kind of keep up with him, probably would not had a chance to try to stab himself in the neck after the verdict. Very sad story as Typhoon Ragasa slammed into Hong Kong and southern China after a deadly path through Taiwan and Philippines. We're seeing some cleanup now from Super Typhoon Ragasa, which knocked out power, flooded low-lying districts, and halted flights across Hong Kong, Shenzhen, and Macau. AP tallies injuries in Hong Kong and mass evacuations across Guangdong at the storm pushed inland. It was pretty much devastating. Earlier, Ragasa triggered deadly flooding and landslide in Taiwan and displaced tens of thousands of folks in the Philippines as well. Satellite loops show that the compact, intense core, one of the region's strongest cyclones of the year, is essentially a Category 5 hurricane hitting the area, more than one nation at the point. Authorities warn that post-storm hazards are there. Systems, river surges, landslide can happen, and of course, transport corridors will be disrupted until things get cleaned up, and it'll take a while for everything to be completely cleaned up. So no rapture, at least not yet. It's only it's the 24th, only 5:40, so we still have 20 or so hours to see what happens. So assuming we're back tomorrow, we need you to help us out to grow this thing a little bit more. We had some nice, great growth over the past couple of days, and we appreciate all the folks who've joined us on the YouTube side and Facebook and X as well. We still need to get Gunn going, keep on doing, keep on pushing. So this is a part every single day in the show where I ask you to like, share, and subscribe to the work we're doing here. Like what you're seeing if you like it, or if you hate like it, that works as well. It works as well. Now, what this shows is the algorithm will see more likes, more engagement, and we'll show it to more people to get more people hopefully engaged into it. If you know people who are engaged into it already and you want to share directly with them, whether it's love shares or hate shares, same thing applies. Of course, when you're liking and sharing stuff, it makes me believe that I'm putting in the right amount of effort, the right amount of things to get your attention, get you engaged in stuff. So I will do more of that one. Or if I'm seeing it's all just bots, I may do less to see what happens. If you're not getting me directly into your feeds because it's not, this was a like that got shared to you or direct share, subscribe to our works on Facebook, on X, and on YouTube. Also, if you feel a movement to join us on YouTube and help support things directly. Like, share, and subscribe to get more people involved in the News Nerd Nation. More people involved means less begging for stuff like money and money and money. Pictured here is Bruce Pearl, the now former Auburn coach, and George Barkley, the former player from Auburn, former of the Sixer, former Rocket, and some former Sun as well. Barkley's in this picture. I picked a picture of Barkley because it's interesting because Barkley actually has said over maybe 20 years or so, basically since retirement, he thought about running for governor of Alabama. He said it in more serious lights earlier on, and then I guess politics got to him, and then of course money from being on TV. So he's probably not really wanting to give up that pay cut to be the governor of Alabama. Meanwhile, Bruce Pearl is not going to be your next senator for Alabama, at least not yet, but he has left the job at Auburn, and he does have some speculation of political ambitions going forward. The next governor of Alabama could be Tommy Tuberville, who is leaving the Senate to go run for governor. It gets a crazy loop. But the 65-year-old Pearl is stepping down before the season coming up. His son, Stephen Pearl, will take over, with Bruce shifting to an ambassador role for the university, not leaving Auburn quite yet, not quite running for Senate yet. He said he's not running for now. We'll see what happens. Sports outlets note that his legacy has 2 Auburn Final Fours, 6 NCAA bids, and 11 seasons total across his coaching career. Commentary frames the retirement as freeing Pearl to dabble in politics and media without campaign commitments. Essentially, he can do TV and do stuff and talk about things without being tied to a school and having to basically pull away at the last minute. The decision still sparked partisan chatter, and if you watched the wrap-up as we talked about it on Pardon Interruption, which is still on the air, the talk between Wilbon and Kornheiser, where Kornheiser basically gave Pearl lauds and applause for all he did going on, and Wilbon just said basically he's a bum. You can take whatever side you want on that one. Bruce Pearl, Alabama, if Bear Bryant would have lived a couple more years, someone had asked him to run for governor, I'm sure he would have probably won. It's just what it is. Alabama likes their sports figures. They like them being in charge of stuff. That's somehow how we have, that guy. And it is what it is. Spirit Airlines is going to furlough 1,800 flight attendants as it gets closer to trying to fix things from its bankruptcy issues. The cuts are deepening, with 1,800 flight attendants being essentially put on some sort of leave effective December the 1st as it tries to shrink its workload and its payload and its people load during the Chapter 11 restructuring of all things. The carrier says the fleet is smaller, the schedule's reduced, so they have to work on the scheduling to make it align with what's going on. Can't have that many people on the job if you don't have that many jobs to do for them there. Industry blogs are basically estimating the target labor savings about $100 million. Spirit seeks to be sustainable, doing the post-bankruptcy plan to come out of it better. Now, the big issue is coming out of it better also means the jobs that will be furloughed and basically lost in the process. So higher cancellation risk on thin routes and crew reassignments as winter schedules finalized means there will be some issues for Spirit going forward. So they have to fight all those things in the process, and less people on hand means less people on hand. But the union response and the recall timelines will shape how deep the cuts ultimately go. 1,800 is a lot of people. We'll see if they can actually make that work come Spirit and come the union, and who will stick around, and if Spirit can actually come out of this bankruptcy and survive in some semblance of form of a business. We know the enemy, and he should be Brainiac. James Gunn basically teases the Superman 2 villain with a cryptic brain illustration. Posting on the Man of Tomorrow script, a cover from 9/22, the anatomical brain sketch, widely read as a Brainiac tease. Coverage notes prior hints that Superman and Lex will face a much bigger threat together, so they have to figure out how to work together to face a big threat to the Earth. Brainiac would be a pretty big threat to the Earth. Entertainment sites have stitched the clues together and project that Brainiac is the sequel's big bad coming up for 2027. 7/9/27 tag suggests that July 9th is the target date to get this thing out for us to see in theaters. Studio confirmation is still pending. They do say the script's in the work. They do say work is in production, but they're not saying that it will be the big green brain guy coming forward. James Gunn has a big tease. It's making it look like Brainiac will be involved or something very brainy as well coming up. And an ode to fromage, as Emilia de Alberto became the first American to win the top cheesemonger prize at France's Mondial de Fromage. The teammate Courtney Johnson took bronze as well. So USA, USA, USFNA. Specialty prizes and food sites hailed the results as a watershed for U.S. artisan cheese retail. Cheese is no longer just something that gets samples of at the grocery store. Cheese should be a bigger event, a larger cultural part of your life. The coverage of this event actually stresses the vigor of the actual cheese competition. There's blind taste testing, there's cutting precision, there's merchandising and education components. She won the competition by partially making a sculpture of the moon's phases out of cheese. They had to do that as well. Experts knock on the buzz for the cheese stuff, and cheese shops around the state should actually try to get a bit of juice out of it, or cheese, cheddar out of it, if you will, to make fondue, if you can, of the big win, the big prize. Now, this is something that's not, it's not Jimmy Kimmel coming back to TV. It's not Trump at the UN saying that Ukraine can fight, but it is a big deal. So we're going to take this as a cheese lover myself as a big deal. The win arrives as American cheese quality is surging in global competitions over the past decade. We're not just sliced cheeses that's wrapped in plastic anymore. We are, and we love that as well. Or cheese in a can. We are, and we love that as well. But the actual cheese stuff that takes effort, is becoming much more defined around the world. Luckily, we have people like Amelia and our teammate Courtney to thank for go out there. And one more time, USA, USA, USFNA. If you're not so sure about that story on cheese, trust me, it's real. But you can check out cheese stories or Kimmel stories or Trump stories, any type of story you want to, by going to Ground News. Ground News should be your tertiary home. Or your tertiary home. We want you to kick Ground News in your actual thoughts of your news anyway, because it will help you distinguish what news that you're actually taking in, including from us, and where it's coming from, and what it really sort of means, and what's pushing out from that one. Now, think about it for a second. You are a person who has a favorite website for news, and you check them out all the time, and you get stories, and you see something that just doesn't quite seem right. The way the coverage is, what's being said, doesn't quite seem on to you. Find out what's up by going to Ground News and looking up that actual story, and you'll see from whether it's local, and you'll be surprised how many local outlets they have access to, a national story or a international story, who's covering it, what outlets are covering it, how they lean, who owns them, if they run Republican or Democrat, or they mostly stay down the center. And you can kind of get a better gist of what stories are and what they mean and what may be left out. And if you go to their Vantage Plan, use their blind spot feature, you'll see a large swath of stories that are being overly sold to you because your silo wants you to see more of it, and undersold to you, which other silos want them to see more of, and vice versa. So check it out today. We have a great deal for you. If you use our link at this is the conversationproject.com/ground news. This is the conversationproject.com/ground news. You can get a chance to get their Vantage Plan and all their plans for 40% off. That's $10 for the Vantage Plan per month, and about $1 a month for this basic plan. And you get great news coverage that is beyond compare. So check it out. We use it every day to check out some stories that look a little odd, a little fishy. And sometimes we'll go there and we'll see a story that'll have a liberal bent and take the headline from the conservative view and put them together and see what happens. We did a lot today. We have a lot of, or in the feeds today, we have a lot of Fox News headlines that are attached to some USA Today links, because the Fox News headlines were just so awesome, and the coverage was a little wow. So it happens. We admit it. We have those biases. So that is what's going on. Oh, by the way, all about us. Remember, our website home is theconversationproject.com. Email the show directly at the conversation inbox at gmail.com. We're on YouTube, of course, and you're probably watching us on YouTube. But if you're not watching us there, or you want to go find more about us, our feeds are on Facebook.com/This is Conversation Project, X.com/THC Conversation. We feed this thing live to that one. We're also on YouTube Live. We should put YouTube in there as well. The feeds are special because we post news articles, links every single day, all day, every 50 minutes or so. So you can engage in what's going on. Help us pick out the stories that we are talking about in these things here, and of course, in our hot takes here or there on TikTok and YouTube. With that, your Wednesday, September 24th, maybe Rapture Day edition of Things You Might Have Heard is done. Like I said, it's about 6 a.m. Central Time, so that's 18 hours to have a rapture, at least in Central Time. If you go back to the Pacific or Hawaii, maybe it gets a little stretched. So I'm still betting not. So we'll go deeper into the non-rapture tomorrow, assuming, one, I'm not raptured, and two, I don't oversleep, which almost happened today. In the meantime, love you, mean it. Whether you watch me live or check this on replay, let me know how we did, what we can do, and what we do not do better in the future. We'll see you again, Lord willing, creek don't rise, and alarm going off, and no rapture on Thursday.